kind of like a, I think people like Mike because I'm kind of a unique kind of character.
And I have
I love to
You just see how games of possession are more intense, how they mean more.
I'm not putting him on.
I think the U.S. is going to obviously win.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Nothing But Respect. I am Harry Krinsky. I am joined by Patrick Redford and the People's Champion. He was traded, but then the trade was rescinded. We traded him to Yahoo Sports last week, but then the trade was rescinded once they heard of his unfortunate lifetime ban from the boot on Tulane's campus. The Yahoo Sports had to renege on the deal because they do a lot of their podcasting from that wonderful bar in southern New Orleans. We are talking, of course, about Sportello. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. My chest is still hurting from during Yahoo's physical, kind of like Mark Williams with the Lakers when they were going over my chest and the thing from The Thing just popped out. I'm back here with my tail between my legs.
It's okay. I think the cynics would say this is just sort of an attempt to rebuild your trade value, to just like make that contract seem mildly more appealing, just give you some reps and see what the production does. And to them, I would just basically say, yeah, you're right. Like, that's what's happening.
That's what we're doing, yeah.
So make sure to get the good riffs in early, just because like we want to highlight when the offense is running through you, like what the sort of possibilities and capabilities are.
Right, exactly.
Can you just offer us like a brilliant insight?
I'm here to get my March empty calories. Like this.
Exactly. Like a Karl Anthony Towns averaging 37 for a month a few years ago. I did almost tweet that I had confirmed that you were walking in the Bodie GQ show to boost your trade value, but then I was like, I didn't want to. I was actually, and this brings us to kind of one of the things I was talking about. I was already involved in a media storm of my own, caused by my my tweet about the alignment chart. I was because it was my tweet and I'm getting pinged on it. I was following the various spurned media folks or fans of the media folks who were upset with my tweet. Did you guys experience any of this?
Yeah, this was good. I liked people basically mounting their case that you had just forgotten every single NBA podcast that had ever existed and failed to put 1,000 on there.
Yeah, I feel like the number one takeaway was everyone's response. Like, people yearn for the prototypical leftist meme be like everyone wants their memes to be so text dense. I appreciate your restraint.
I like the one you sent. I don't know if you posted this one of just player pod alignment chart where they were all in the evil zone.
Except for Jeff Teague, who's randomly the greatest storyteller that we've ever seen.
I know. I'm always torn between, wanting to go full mask off and bash the player pod industrial complex, and then also sort of a vague understanding that those people could one day pay me lots of money. So I feel perpetually, caught in there. Patrick, before we jump into Aux boots on the ground Super Bowl takes, you got a wire in about some of my basketball ability.
It's true.
Let me hear about it.
One week ago, I have a lot of sources and scouts who scout the various New York City media games. I know about Chris Haynes' Back to the Basket game, and so I just want to keep my ear to the ground. This is the pickup run I played in once and had a totally disastrous time because I had spent 2 weeks in New York just like indulging and not really exercising before doing this. So it was a very embarrassing showing. But former guest Giddy Nathan said that you were a fun hooper, and when asked to elaborate, said you had good jab steps and ball fakes. And then hopefully future guest Sam Koloff said you love the baseline pass. My first question to you is like, how was it to operate in like the most condensed spacing environment possible, where all 10 guys are just like swarming around the ball like a youth soccer league game at all times?
Right. No, it does. It you understand why sprawl ball is important, right? When you're playing in a 1996 basketball game. But actually, what I believe to be the larger like force at play, yes, there's a small gym, but the process of feeling out what level of competitiveness you are bringing to a pickup event is actually now has superseded the physical realities and the as the most important thing I think about. As a somebody in my early 30s now, it's extremely. It used to be, I think, when you're like 24, you're playing pickup. The default setting is you were trying to. It was kill or be killed. Like you were trying to dominate everybody on the court, and they are trying to dominate you. And there's this sort of like beautiful homoeroticism in that gets that buckets get put on. Now, as I'm in some runs where people are a little older, people are a little taking it less seriously. The thing that I am consumed with is trying to figure out how to be inoffensive in my how to kind of titrate my level of competitiveness to the right thing. Not that I'm like overflowing with competitiveness, but you don't want to undersell it and be the reason your team loses, but you don't want to like dial it up to 10 and like fucking accidentally, push off on a guy who's just trying to like burn a couple calories on a Monday. So
dude, someone tore their ACL in this game a few years ago.
Yeah.
So like you are addressing the correct issue.
So I'm happy that fun to hoop with was the main thing I was going for. It's like I wanted to pass a lot. I wanted to kind of like I wanted to like ease myself into this group of people. Next time I'm picking Geary up full court. I'm like calling a carry on him or something.
You're gonna start slapping the floor on defense, hiking the shorts up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Harry gets the same. You know the tweet. The remember the name Paige Becker's 6th grade tweet. It's just best podcast producer I've ever seen. Delancey Street Courts.
Exactly. Yeah.
I found that the best thing I could do on offense in that game, if I wasn't like already under the hoop in position to grab offensive boards, was just like literally stand at half court so my defender like wasn't gonna clog up the spacing even more.
Yeah. Exactly. No, it was a great run. I do hope to come back. Now, on to the biggest event in sports yesterday. It was not the Jimmy Butler debut, which was, I guess, 2 days ago. We are talking.
That's right. Pistons Raptors, 10 a.m. Pacific time start. Detroit got another win.
The Super Bowl. We have a boots on the ground reporter in Og, who is a New Orleans resident, and you didn't go to the game, but you were around for the vibes. You were also, I believe, writing a piece, sort of more cumulatively about the vibes around the Super Bowl in New Orleans. Give us your kind of like your personal kind of vibe breakdown of the Super Bowl, and then talk a little bit about this piece. I'm curious about.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a preface, I might sound a little stuffed today, feeling a little under the weather, but I think it probably has something to do with the bad bag of ketamine that I did at the Doritos x Israel Super Bowl kickoff party. One of many fun events in the French Quarter. No, the Super Bowl was weird. It was basically the marquee event of the last few years in New Orleans. Like basically everything that's happened in New Orleans over the past at least 3 or so years has in one way or another been seen as this like referendum on the city's fitness to host the Super Bowl. Whether it's like a series of cars get their windows broken in outside of an LSU game at the Superdome, or the city hosts Beyonce's last leg of a tour. Everything is either a good or bad sign that they're going to do well in the Super Bowl or botch the Super Bowl. And basically every infrastructural decision that's been made in the city for the past however many years is also directly for the Super Bowl. Like the mayor pretty controversially put up these like basically yassified string lights on the bridge that goes over the Mississippi River, explicitly for the Super Bowl, and they got yanked off like a week later by some hurricane. But it's the type of thing where like it's the thing that everyone gets mad about if you're the type of person who's more politically aligned with like your no Olympics types or your anti-corporate greed types. And then you have the tourism lobby, which is probably one of the biggest industries in the city, who's kind of been full speed ahead on the Super Bowl. So it all kind of, I don't know, it came together in a very weird like Half-Life or Twilight Zone situation where the city was crowded, there was a lot of shit going on, but everything kind of ended up being in this like privatized, cloistered off Pepsi buyout of a venue rather than the type of event that actually happens in the public in New Orleans, which is basically every other event. You know, it's a big parade city, Mardi Gras city. Things usually happen on the street. Things are usually inclusive. Super Bowl is not that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point and sort of aligns with my in-person Super Bowl experience because I was living in San Francisco when the Super Bowl was like, okay, theoretically there, but really in Santa Clara, like an hour and a half south. But my main impression of the Super Bowl in San Francisco was that it wasn't really happening. Like there was basically very little to do with the actual experience of living in the city, unless you were the type to go to like media activation events like downtown, then like as an actual San Franciscan, it like totally didn't affect your life. And I think the thing there is that like the Super Bowl is like notionally an in-person event, but it is like not for it, like basically it does not inhabit a physical reality. Like it's for television. Like even I'm thinking specifically about the halftime show here where like
yes.
in the arena that must have looked super weird because the point of view is like a camera like receding away from Kendrick or being in the middle of a circle and spinning around and like it's totally optimized for the screen. But then like you just think about like what is that like to watch in the stadium? Like can you even hear him rapping? Like is the audio like tuned up for like to sound good in the stadium? Like I don't think so.
I had such a. I'm glad you bring up the Super Bowl thing, the halftime show, because this has annoyed me as long as I've been consuming Super Bowls. Before I had the language to talk about why this annoyed me, I kind of understand why the Super Bowl halftime show matters. Like, I guess I understand it by the fact that like because famous people, like the cart's before the horse. If Rihanna is playing in the Super Bowl, then it matters, like or whatever. But the experience of watching, I bring this up because there was some debate, as I'm sure there is every year, about like whether or not this Super Bowl halftime show was the best Super Bowl halftime show or the worst Super Bowl halftime show. And I was like, I saw some people being like, wow, best one ever. And I'm like, you don't even remember last year's. No, of course, nobody does. Because as a actual piece of art, it is a completely unremarkable event. It is like it is a audio event that is mixed poorly. So you're like listening to somebody rap quietly through this thing that is supposed to be in person, but then it's broadcasted, through this thing. The entire thing is just a, spectacle of which to like make a statement either creatively, artistically, or politically, or whatever. It was almost like the most important thing that happened in the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl was the people speculating that Kendrick would diss Drake in the Super Bowl. Like that it all happened online before the Super Bowl. And I bring all of this up because I'm like, that's always true. They all suck. They're all boring. They're like all unremarkable. They are all for the people in the thing, but are in the stadium, but are we are forced to think and talk about them because we see them on TV or something. It makes me feel insane.
Yeah, maybe this is an annoying way to think about it, but to me, it's like a thoroughly postmodern phenomenon where like the point of a Super Bowl performance is like not like, did they do a good job? Did the song sound good? It's like sort of like, okay, how are they positioning themselves vis-a-vis like their place in the music industry and this like thing's value as like a totally denatured spectacle, like. And that's sort of what the one thing I did like about, not the one thing, but the main thing I did like about the performance was that like he was kind of mixing it up, like the way he was like teasing Not Like Us throughout, the way he was sort of like rapping over like quieter parts, the interstitial parts were like a little more thorough, like they're. But then again, like the thing I'm praising is basically that he was making an artistic statement, not that like it really had much value. Like the Samuel L. Jackson, is it Bodie or Bode? I've said Bode.
I think it is Bodie. Yeah,
that's crazy. Like the Samuel L. Jackson is like America's conscious thing. He's not actually making any like subversive statement about like, black people in America or like Donald Trump being there or whatever. It's kind of like the point of it all is just like, fuck Drake. Like that's the only like thing you can extract from that, which is not particularly novel.
The most subversive thing, I think, was just him really leaning into the short king shit. Like, there was that moment when he's standing in between his just, like, the people who made up the American flag were, like, bigger than the Eagles O-line. And he had the chance, he had the chance to be on top of the stairs. And he's just, like, right in the middle. It was like every time you saw him, he shrunk, like, 2 inches. But yeah, I don't know. I do think the halftime show's weird. The whole thing is weird, like you guys are both saying, where it does feel... It is optimized for people who are not there, and I felt like that kind of reflected into the Super Bowl too, where it's like everything was kind of, the theme was selling New Orleans culture, like it's gonna be jazz and drinking and partying and eating good Southern Cajun food, but then it was for rooms of people who this is the one time over the last 5 years that they've been to or will go to New Orleans. And people from New Orleans actually weren't allowed in. They were like bussed away to some like homeless person concentration camp that the governor set up. I wish I was joking. Yeah. And so, yeah, it was just kind of like, it was weird. But you can kind of approximate that level of weirdness by just like watching the halftime show. And I think in general, the halftime show at the Super Bowl is best served as like, at its best, it's inoffensive and it's basically a tryout for like a Vegas residency.
Yes,
or like, but I think we need one good like Red Panda to kind of like reset culture and like move away from this whole like, who's it gonna be? Like just one 15-minute bowl stacking.
We need all of the people who tour NBA arenas, like Red Panda, the guy with the chihuahua who does the tricks, the chair stacking guy. Yeah, we just need like this just like 4 or 5 person just all doing tricks at once as someone just presses play on like a generic EDM track.
It's
I would
like
be
Subway
so in.
Surfer. Yeah. I recently saw a woman at a Pelicans game who just like kind of does the Red Panda thing, but like with a ton of umbrellas. Have you seen this?
No.
It's crazy. It's so cool. Like she'll just like have these umbrellas or like parasols, I guess, spinning on her feet, but then we'll like stack them and then she'll be on like a ladder. It's crazy.
That sounds cool. Yeah.
It's so much sicker than Kendrick Lamar.
Well, I was thinking about as the show was going on, I was like, I wonder if anybody's tried like a really pared down, like super minimalist, like almost that Freaks and Geeks Childish Gambino music video style, which is just a steady shot, or I'd say single shot of him like dancing around or whatever. It's a fine music video. But then I was thinking, I when you said something, there's nothing more exciting than the idea of the entire Super Bowl watching just Red Panda do her regular routine. Like no frills, like for real, just in front of 35 million people doing the cup thing. Like that would be
the stakes are crazy.
That would be so sick. So something to consider. What is the kind of contours of the piece that you're writing this week?
So I mean, it's still kind of taking shape, but like basically, in the theme of everything being a referendum on the Super Bowl, obviously this year started with an attack on Bourbon Street, and it was just a very somber start to the year. It was also it took place right before the Sugar Bowl, so obviously nowhere near the scope or size of the Super Bowl as like a production, but still themes of people from out of town being at the Superdome and drinking for at least the weekend beforehand. And the reaction of city officials directly in the wake of the attack was like specifically they put their foot in their mouth by announcing that it was all locals and like no tourists had been injured.
Don't worry.
Which is an insane thing to say.
Oh my God.
But it felt like a real microcosm for this general New Orleans as the city that's a lot smaller than its cultural footprint is, and is in fact a very poor city that basically depends only upon tourist dollars to keep itself going, but is turning more and more each year into like a Disneyland version of itself. And that kind of being the result of intentional decisions made by people who sit in Baton Rouge, the state's capital, and who, quite frankly, resent and are afraid of New Orleans, but depend upon the myth of New Orleans to kind of keep the gravy train rolling in Louisiana. And a lot of those things kind of ended up taking shape throughout the week that was the Super Bowl, whether it was unhoused people being forcibly moved to this multi-million-dollar warehouse they built to hide them from people during the Super Bowl, to the weird sensation that a lot of business owners had throughout the city of the streets are packed. Why am I doing worse than ever? It was kind of this bizarre experience where the city was being sold, but unless you were someone who could kind of get your cut on the front end, you were basically told to fuck off. So I don't know. It's still taking shape, but I'm still chewing on a lot of things that I saw over the week. But it was definitely just like a surreal, weird week that was capped off with like the height of mid in terms of the game itself.
Right.
This sort of, I haven't been to New Orleans, but I have been to Vegas. And this kind of reminds me of like this core illusion that Vegas is selling to you, the tourist. It's basically saying like, this city exists solely for you.
Right.
Like we do not want you to think about the normal people who live here. And we want you to feel empowered by this like sense of freedom, basically, which extends as far as like you can smoke inside some places and you can drink outside some places. And that's like basically it, except like that sense of freedom is like rigidly enforced and is only made possible by like this crazy panopticon, like mini police state that they have going there. And like that, a lot like how New Orleans and the Super Bowl generally is like not for people from New Orleans, and they are in fact like an active hindrance to it. That sort of feels like the same level of surreality that Vegas is operating on.
Yes, it's insane. And it's also like, to the extent that, you know, Super Bowls more or less rotate through either places with the most expensive new arenas or like the most reliably temperate environments, or Vegas. And by and large, it's kind of, they serve as this like the host for a clean slate of like, you know, brands to come in, and I kind of jokingly said, but do like the whole Pepsi X Mohammed bin Salman, you know, brand activation. And what made the New Orleans Super Bowl unique is that everything about it was meant to kind of be tailored to New Orleans as New Orleans. It's all supposed to be about jazz and Mardi Gras. I mean, it literally took place during Mardi Gras season. It is technically Carnival right now. So it's later this year. Mardi Gras itself is March 4th, but I mean, it's very much so the case that every other weekend except for this one in February, there's going to be Mardi Gras parades rolling. And so it was fashioned as such a, like I said earlier, the Disneyland version of the city itself, which contrasts against the highest police state I've ever seen, was really bizarre. And like, I mean, I don't remember, I was obviously a kid, but like I grew up right across the river from New York City and remember being in New York after 9/11. And like, I still have not ever seen what I saw on Bourbon Street this week, which was just full people from any federal agency they could find, whether it was like the U.S. Army, National Guard, or like fisheries and wildlife, just toting like AR-15s in front of like fucking tanks. And no, it was surreal. It was crazy.
And like hurricanes, like the drinks.
Yeah, people have just like hurricanes, and then like they have carpeted Bourbon Street, which is the most vulgar thing you could possibly imagine doing. And then there's just like hungover Gronk on a pedestal, like talking. It was the craziest.
There's like a tank with the Department of Agriculture logo on it rolling down the street.
Throwing some beads at Bo Bergdahl.
Well, did you see like the fake green screen set that Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt were broadcasting from? It's this like wet alley, but it's also empty. It's like cleansed of all people.
So
It is the Disneyland version of New Orleans. It's basically saying like, you understand this is a fake place. We understand that we're broadcasting to you from this place that doesn't exist. Like, it's basically like the idealized like post cleanse, just totally clean, empty version of New Orleans.
Yes.
No, there was a lot that the green screen. New Orleans is a great metaphor for all of this, because it was like, it's going all the way to New Orleans just to do a green screen of New Orleans in a box. Like,
yeah,
it's so
like
good.
You could do that from anywhere. It was a green
it's
screen.
basically saying real New Orleans is like a hindrance to what we're actually trying to accomplish here.
Yes,
but unfortunately, it's not like we're still not in the fully realized AI panopticon reality. So we have to like at least get on a plane a little bit.
Yeah. We have to. I mean, it was so funny because it is a small city. Again, like I said, it's a poor city, and it's just does not have the infrastructure to deal with this level of just like total brand takeover. And so some people got the short end. Like Super Bowl day, I was at my gym and was just kind of like accosted by what seemed to be Secret Service workers as I tried to walk up the stairs, and they're like, "You can't go there, you can't go there," and it was
I can't do legs.
Yeah, no, I was trying to do legs, and I was told by the Adidas representatives that there was a banquet involving Lionel Messi that I couldn't go to. I'm like, this is
beautiful.
my gym. So it's just shit like that, you know, or like it is a miracle that it didn't go as haywire as it could have. But yeah.
This was my first time listening to Tom Brady. This is the first football game I've watched all year, unfortunately.
No, that's okay.
And the first time listening to Tom Brady, and I've seen like my coworkers have talked about him and written about him, but I was saving my first Brady experience for the real thing. It's crazy that his voice sounds like that. Like,
Yeah.
he sounds like someone whose first language was like Finnish or something, who like learned English like really well and has like kind of an accent, but some strange phrasing. And it's like, I understand everything this guy's saying. And honestly, most of it makes sense, but the way he's saying it is just like uncanny to me.
Yeah, there is a weird, like, if you fed, I mean, I guess I'm just saying he's a robot, but like if you like fed a NLP like the entire history of like weather people and then asked them to talk, they would talk like Tom Brady.
The most persuasive theory I've ever seen is that he has never watched a football broadcast, so he has no idea what they're supposed to talk about.
That's a good call.
I like that. Yeah.
Spent the entire Super Bowl. I know at one point last night he said, during my first 9 Super Bowls, like flexing the entire thing. It's so funny.
The only actual football thing that was interesting to me is that the Chiefs just ate big shit, and that like Mahomes is theorized as some sort of potential future GOAT, while then the actual current GOAT got to talk shit about him for 4 quarters. Is that what happened?
Mm-hmm. More or less,
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
The Tubi app on my PS4 would not allow me to stream the game, so I had to resort to my laptop.
I forgot about that. I can't believe like if you ever get like a an MVP vote, which I suspect you will based on the success, the exploding success of this podcast, and they see that you're like crunching tape on that TV, they will revoke it.
It's like if I want to watch Blazers all possessions to see Scoot Henderson's improvement, it takes a 15-minute warm-up period. The PS4 and the wall that it's touching will get really hot. There's like a painting in front of it. It'll kind of start vibrating at this like really unholy frequency. I'll go to the kitchen. I'll like take out a box of dry pasta noodles, boil them, drain them, go back, press play, the X button for play, and that starts in an 8-minute final warm-up period. After which, make the salad, make the sauce, come back with my full meal, click over to Blazers broadcast, eat it, do the dishes, sit down, and then I have my, Scoot Henderson 10-minute tape. It's like, so it's worth it. It's like, Michelangelo said that when he got the big brick of marble, he just pulled the statue of David that was already out of there. I see myself as just building this unnecessary cubic brick of shit marble to extract from these like valuable insights.
It's from a 2009 Vizio.
Yeah, it's like resistance training for my brain.
You're the first ever media member who got priced out of Roku City.
All right. Well, that actually brings us to our the sort of why we're all here, which is to talk about basketball. Even between in the last week, we had Dan Devine on and talked about some of the trades. And we're joking about how we were originally going to do an episode about the trade deadline being boring, and then it was far from boring. Even since then, a week ago, it feels like the NBA has reconstituted itself again in that kind of like second wave of trade deadline stuff. Before we get into like before we get into like team specific stuff, I just wanted to note a funny tension that I experienced while consuming the trade deadline, which was many of the individual trades that were happening were representing kind of concerning trends like a player forcing his way out, or teams obviously trading their beloved superstar to in secrecy, or getting under the salary cap and getting rid of this kind of thing. But which are things that if you were an individual fan or whatever of those teams, you'd be disappointed about. But the sum total, just as a like medium tier fan, if you are somebody who is like follows the NBA, it was euphoria. I mean, it was like the most electric week of thinking about basketball I've ever experienced. Like every single trade, I start levitating, being like, oh my God, like Zach LaVine, what's he gonna look like on the Kings? And oh my God, De'Aaron Fox and Wemby. Like, so the sum total was awesome, and I don't really know how to square that. So I don't know. What were your big takeaways?
That is really interesting, and I think basically the reason why we and everyone else sort of worried that nothing would happen is like because all of these trades are like necessarily a reflection of like the CBA, and I think basically the trades that actually happened obviously like were a reflection, but like while some of the darker, like Nico Harrison trading Luka because he didn't want to pay him a third of $1 billion, like the thing about that that's still interesting is like what the CBA enforces more than anything is parity. Mm-hmm. And under parity, every team like thinks they have a chance. And so like the competitive dynamic of most of these trades was teams like trying to win. And I think that's why it's cool, because even though they're doing it under this like enforced austerity of the CBA, like if you do have 25 teams or whatever that are like actively trying to compete, the result then is like teams using this mechanic to like do the thing we should all want them to do as fans, you know?
That is it. That's in that. I want to hear your thoughts, Doc, but the difference between parity and dynasties as these two things, which like we all think we want parity, but then the numbers show we want dynasties, is this sort of funny. It's a good way of summing up the tension.
I mean, I do think, like, on the note of parity, too, it's, like, not to always return to this, but, you know, these concerns are certainly overblown, but when you see people complain about a perceived homogenizing of the play and play kind of revolving more and more around shots at the rim and launching threes, there's also always the threat of, like, that polarity emerging with like the league's teams, where you'll have your handful of potential dynasties or people who are making their shot, and then a bunch of teams kind of cluttering at the bottom as well towards giving it up and deciding to pursue smart roster construction and whether it's tanking or just retooling in some way, shape, or form. And you see this kind of death of the mid, sort of like you're also seeing perhaps overblown death of the mid-range, and I'm enjoying this as a consolidation of the mid in many cases.
Yeah,
a lot of teams we are rebuilding the middle class of NBA teams of just like creating. I don't know, like we're going to keep creating the Bulls, right? Like everyone gets their own version of the Bulls, and it might not be great for each individual fan base, but I do think it makes for a more fun league. A lot of teams. Like you said, trying to switch into winning, even if winning now might not be totally consistent with like the theoretical 5-year goal of putting forward the best possible championship contender.
Yeah, and on the specific note about like the death of the mid-range and this like general stylistic argument, this is something I wrote about last week with like a specific eye towards like what happened in the Western Conference, which is the three teams at the top are these like exemplars of kind of the new style. Like it's just like hyperactive defense, 11-man rotations. We're like, the philosophy is like, we're just going to put pressure on you on both sides of the ball for 48 minutes. And that's like, it's like anti-heliocentric, but then the teams that really tooled up to come and kill them are like the Lakers, the Mavs, and the Warriors, basically. And I guess sort of theoretically the Kings, but that's like, we don't need to talk about them. But basically it's like the idea of acquiring more old guys who can enable this like slower, more like theoretically playoff ready heliocentric style. And I would argue that they were motivated to do that because of like skepticism of how that style is going to work in the playoffs. Like we've seen the Rockets just be ass lately because Jalen Green is like not Devin Booker basically.
Right.
And so I think this is like the sort of clash of ideologies that this is setting up to take place in 2 months is like why That's the thing I find most fascinating about the deadline.
And it is funny that a way of something that it as wrote as like, hey, that passing style doesn't work in the playoffs is the hilarious Nico Harrison quote of defense wins championships.
Yeah.
Like with the return to the middle class, it's like it's perhaps the return to boomer ball as well. Like,
I do think we all, you guys. I feel like you last checked in right with the Dan episode.
Yeah.
So now that the trade deadline is kind of done and dusted, if we can all take a moment to do our CJ McCollum apology forms. Because I saw that man's name dragged through the mud as this boogeyman who killed the trade deadline. And I don't know, this deadline was as good as one as I can remember.
Yeah, even if he can't deliver for the players he nominally represents, at least he delivered for us, the fans, whose salary is not going to be affected by that disastrous. I also saw Simmons making a point about the CBA and basically... this is like, union busting ass Bill Simmons, basically positing that like the owners won the CBA because they had better lawyers and were better at negotiating, which is like,
I did see that take.
Not taking into mind any of the economic contradictions or like the actual stakes of the fight.
It's a pretty interesting take. Yeah. Bill, I gotta, if you're listening to this, Bill, we gotta talk about your new Amy Poehler podcast called Good Hang. I got my high-powered lawyer will be in touch soon. I'm trying to think if there's any meat left on the Mavs bone. It's obviously now just like brutal that Anthony Davis pulled his abductor like after 1 or 3 quarters into like what was a really dominant game. But I think it's only time will tell. The more I think about it, I just do keep returning to this idea that it is super almost like regardless of what happens, you just shouldn't trade your superstars. Like what would like a 12-year-old think is basically, I keep going back to like, would they be sad or happy about this trade? They would be sad. So like, you can't be doing that.
Good players on your team are good and they help you win games. Which I know I said we shouldn't talk about it, but like the post-Fox trade Kings are this like just incredible assemblage of bad ideas. I mean, they set all these records 2 years ago by like just playing fast, like hyperactive, spread out offense. Like the thing was like the processing speed. And then to see them basically abandon that and let it all fall apart, and now they're just playing like ball don't stop offense, where like either DeMar or Levine will take turns holding and dribbling the ball for 14 seconds, then taking the stupidest shot of all time, and them just jamming like all of these one-on-one players in together instead of actually playing any guys who can play defense is just like it's incredible. It's like they don't understand. I mean, surely they're smarter than I am about this stuff, but it's like, do you guys not like see like the kind of basketball that's winning? Like, do you not see like the stylistic ascendancy of the Thunder and Rockets? Like, why are you trying to build a team that didn't work 3 years ago when they were all younger on the Bulls? It's so stupid. It's
brutal. And I got to say, on the other hand, the most exciting new look team other than the Warriors, I'm biased, but what is the Fox Wemby
they're awesome
thing. They just look really fun. And the one thing I'll say too is like, so often this cliche gets bandied about around like, you need a closer, right? And it's like, okay, I guess you need a closer. When the game gets tough, you need a closer. But with this case, it really was to see in this the Charlotte Spurs game that the Spurs ended up losing. But what was so cool to see them clear out for Fox at the end of the game and have him just be like, this is what I do. Like,
I'm just going to go score.
I'm going to go get a bucket. You can't do anything about it. And God, I haven't watched a ton of Spurs basketball, so watching them and watching Castle and obviously
awesome.
Wembanyama is kind of like defensive progeny. It's they are going to be very good, and good in a regrettably like kind of fun, like got that dog in them kind of way.
Yeah. The thing I've been most surprised by is like how much I enjoy watching Fox do cool shit for the Spurs with zero cognitive dissonance and no like heartbreak, because I think the only really logical way to be a fan is to like center it around players and like understand that your allegiance is going to be polarized towards like management and ownership, and those people are the enemy and must be resisted. And so knowing that like Fox has like a chance to win a championship, it has been really fun. Like you said, like seeing that team with like Harrison Barnes as their best wing player, you can see like, oh, if they get like a competent two-way guy in here, like this all of a sudden makes a lot of sense. And they've played 3 games since the trade. They've all been 1-point games. Like it's super fun to see them all operating the clutch together too.
I agree broadly with that take, but also love seeing you in real time, like reconstitute the Muse account.
That's
You're making
right.
the thinking man's Fox Muse argument.
Well, because I'm going the other way, frankly, where I'm like I perhaps politically side with you, but in my sports lizard brain, I go completely the other way, which is like
There's a Joe Lacob poster behind Harry right now for the listeners at home.
Jimmy Butler on the Warriors now, and I'm like, God, I'm so happy he got out of that classless Miami organization. Those fucking dorks.
Nasty Pat Riley.
Nasty Alzheimer's Pat Riley traded him for a fucking biscuit. I'm like, yeah, I love, I see Jimmy. I'm like, Jimmy Butler, just pick number 10 because he likes Neymar. It's like, it's so stupid.
He's
but
the
I'm
corniest man of all time.
I'm like, let's go, dude. You are I love that you love sports, dude. That's so awesome.
He was great in his first game, right?
He really was. He was
Yeah,
good.
he dropped 25, right?
He did, and I was texting you, Patrick, about this. Like, he did 7 things that I have not seen a Warriors player do probably since Corey Maggette. Like, there's like, because the Warriors were such pioneers in that kind of like sprawl ball, pace and space, and like basically in a way that I like, but some Steve Kerr haters don't like, have not deviated from that at all. Mm-hmm. We don't do things like post up a guard or like out muscle a rebound from the guard position and put it back up. Like, we get destroyed on the glass and then rip a bunch of threes, and that's how we've won championships. So Jimmy was operating in spaces I forgot basketball players on my team could operate in, and it was really it was really exciting. And like, I think the will Draymond and Jimmy get along debate was almost like a completely manufactured debate, and so I'm not even going to engage with it. But seeing them like punk the other team and just start like talking shit in unison together, I was like, that is so awesome. Like, imagine, Amen Thompson, as great as he is, going up against 2 37-year-old absolute psychos, being like, I will eat you, and then I will eat your brother, and then I'll like spit you guys out in the same bowl.
Yeah, the unction is a threat, not a promise.
My fear was never their compatibility, and more like what chain reaction will be set off by those 2 dickheads in the same locker room. The report of Steve Kerr walking out with his head like,
He's so funny, yeah.
You know, this does end with Jimmy joining like the board at Sequoia Capital or something too, right?
Yes. Or no, at Phil's Coffee. It's like Jimmy's juice. It's a nice medium roast for Phil's.
I love the idea of Jimmy landing at SFO and seeing, the robot barista, and just like reaching nirvana.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hope Big Face. There's like I would love a Big Face. I mean, if there's a Big Face coffee in San Francisco, I will go all the time. That sounds hilarious. I would gladly go to a Big Face coffee in SF. The Big Face coffee unionizing.
Are they gonna make the playoffs?
The Warriors?
Yeah.
God, there are 2 scenarios basically, and I will say I like the trade no matter what, because we really didn't give up that much. And I just like the spirit of riding out on Steph's timeline. Like, I think there is a psychic downstream effect of all of that around, like, Jonathan Kuminga isn't worried about if he's getting traded. Moses Moody knows what his role is. Like, I do think there will be this like aligning, everybody rowing in the same direction, like cumulative effect that will be helpful for the next couple years. As far as this year, we are either going to be basically the best Western Conference post trade deadline team, maybe minus the Lakers, or biggest improvement, I should say, and like claw our way into the 6th seed, or it's like we're gonna have the classic Warriors like 9-10, lose the 9-10 playing game and be done for the season this year and be like, guess we couldn't figure it out. But I think there's a chance that everything aligns. And we people's like, oh yeah, Jimmy Butler is a fucking superstar. Like,
and looking at like the teams around them, like Suns, Warriors, and Kings are all 500 right now at 9, 10, 11. I think the Warriors are better than both of those. Like the Kings are just, I think they basically made a win now trade that will enable tanking.
Right.
And I think like the Suns obviously didn't do anything and continue to play Tyus Jones big minutes, who just saw, that man is the worst defender I've ever watched.
They gotta have the worst vibes in that.
And then like the Mavs are in front of them and they don't have AD. So like, can their aging millennials continue to pick up wins? Like, I don't know. Like, but the top 7 is like pretty set and pretty scary right now, I think.
Who's 7?
Clips are a half game behind the Wolves for 6-7.
God, yeah. Then maybe you're right, because I don't really see us catching the Wolves. So maybe we'll be the 7 seed. But I am feeling generally pretty good about this team. One trade that we haven't gotten to, which Ock astutely described as the MAHA trade, which was the Mark Williams Dalton Connect trade, who both happen to be on the board at Johnson & Johnson. Were traded for each other, and then Mark Williams' physical turned out negative, and the trade was rescinded. This is, as Ock rightly put, the first trade in the Make America Healthy Again era. What do we make of this? It actually does substantially hurt the Lakers because they don't have a. I mean, I don't know if Mark Williams was going to be the future, but like they have a guy who his whole thing is making big guys good, and they have like the dumbest big man rotation in the league.
Jackson Hayes is real tough there.
It's short term is a disaster for the Lakers, but like I do think they kind of got saved from themselves, and because the Luka trade just kind of like the same things that make it fun, like the idea that this type of splashy trade can come out of nowhere, also kind of confirmed that the arc of the universe bends towards the Lakers just getting everything they want. And so like I have every reason to believe that the package that they got Mark Williams for will get them Giannis in the summer, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's gonna end up being great for the Lakers. But I just do love the idea of Mark Williams' blood panels, his lipid panels come back, and they're like, "Uh-oh, that man has been eating seed oils," and they just ship his ass back to Charlotte.
I have a slightly different conspiracy here, which is that after the Luka trade, Luka went to management and he was like, "You got to get me a springy." This is like reported. "You got to get me a springy lob threat big guy." Mm-hmm. And so then the Lakers were like, "Oh, fuck, we don't really have like the ammo to do this. Like clearly this summer is the right time. Let's trade for a guy who's played 85 games because his shit is all fucked up," knowing that once we did the physical, it would happen, but that the physical would happen after the deadline. Therefore, they had to be like, "Sorry, bro, our hands are tied. Like, you're just going to have to play out the year with Jackson Hayes. And then don't worry, we'll retool when we actually can get a guy whose limbs are like attached to his trunk."
I like that. Some Slavic maneuvering.
Something I just haven't seen. I mean, when's the last time someone failed a physical?
I know.
Because it made me realize what the funniest possible thing could have been, which would have been if like Nico was allowed to cook, but then someone in the Mavericks organization stopped him after the fact, and AD failing a physical was the reason that Luka didn't go to the Lakers. That would have been I mean, obviously we'll never get to see what would have happened, but that would have been the funniest fucking thing.
Well, the one this reminds me of is the Chris Paul Hornets trade, another Lakers Hornets trade that was rescinded. And there's like that one is very interesting because the league owned and operated the Hornets at the time. Mm-hmm. And I think this was mostly Shelburne talked about this on the Windhorse podcast recently. And this was mostly due to like the ownership structure of the Lakers being like stupid. Like it was two family members who were like weren't operating together. Like and I think it was like either the brother or the uncle, like some outer bus basically made this trade without really talking to anyone else on the team. And then like the NBA was like, oh, this like the structure of this trade doesn't work somehow. Yeah. But also what I liked about that, and maybe I've already said this, but like it's basically that the initial package was going to be like a bunch of bad, like it was like Kevin Martin and Luis Scola, like veterans, and the NBA basically legitimized tanking by being like the Hornets actually want draft picks.
Yeah.
And that was what the offer ended up being from the Clips.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. It also illuminates one of those funny things where a lot of NBA fans, myself included, like know what the contours of some of these words like second apron mean, but don't know what they actually mean. Where I'm like, oh my God, can you believe Mark Williams failed his physical? And then I'm like, what does that mean? Like, did a doctor look at him and was like, no chance, buddy? Like, is it an X-ray? Like, what is it?
So famously, this is just like Nets esoterica. But when the Nets traded, they did the James Harden trade, and during one of the physicals for Karis LeVert on his way out, a doctor found that he had a tumor, and like randomly saved his life.
Michigan, go blue.
But it implies that whatever they found on Mark Williams is worse than a tumor.
What I liked about the Shams thing too, or the Shams report of this, was that it wasn't his back, because like a big man who's had back and foot issues is just crazy. But to get back to Harry's initial take, Charlotte, it's part of the research triangle, where surely many experimental Moderna-style medical technologies are being implemented. And what better lab to test them on than the Hornets, but basically a fake NBA team.
I laid out, tired Adam Silver got Luka traded to the Lakers. Wired Adam Silver vetoed the Mark Williams trade because he's got enough Moderna shots that if it like enacted with the underground nuclear cores they have going on in the Gundo, his heart would explode. Obviously, costing taxpayers millions in damages.
I mean, that would explain some sort of lab leak. Explains a lot of the shit that's just going on in Charlotte for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I do wonder what the Lakers will do now, because their big man rotation is just totally barren. And like the thing that makes Luka so great to build around is how easy it is to build around him.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like you have like the hardest and second hardest things to possibly acquire. Like he's totally unschemable against in the playoffs. So it's all about just like getting the right type of people. And like, I think this year they will go nowhere because like they're going to have to play like the newly embiggened Thunder or Jokic or someone like that. And they'll just get, I mean, the Nuggets already own them anyway, but I don't know who's going to be a free agent or like really available this summer, but like surely that type of, I guess my point is like, you can get players with flaws and contradictions in a way that like, if you're basically any other team, you kind of have to worry about fit at this like much higher level.
I mean, he is going to make Jackson Hayes look good. Like
totally.
The to your thought about this at working out in the long term, like the nightmare scenario is Jackson Hayes like gets good, and then they trade Jackson Hayes. They trade high on him for like fucking Giannis.
Yeah. No, there are Clint Capelas everywhere for those with eyes you can see.
Oh, speaking of Giannis, what did you guys make of the really depressing Kuzma to Bucks trade?
Dude.
Oh my God.
Which was basically a salary dump of Chris Middleton.
It's so funny that you bring this up because I was just spinning my wheels about like if Kyle Kuzma gets a YouTube series where he records himself working out in the offseason and calls it Lab Leaks. It would be so fire.
Oh, that would be fire. Kuzma has a Substack. Did you see that he blogged his like goodbye to Washington fans?
Substack gets everybody. They get fucking Barry Weiss, but they can't get Kyle Kuzma.
Kuzma's the type of guy who joined Substack because like there's no policing of their speech. Like he joined Substack on Twitter 1. Like
but that my takeaway from that trade is basically like Giannis 2026, his ass is out of there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess I haven't been keeping up with Chris Middleton, but it's like he just sounds like he's cooked. Like, which is at this point, you can't. It's the Bucks played it the right way. Like you win a championship, you you got to re-sign the second best guy on your championship team. Like, I don't think they did anything wrong, but yeah, they're reaching the end of the road as a small market team that did elect to supermax their transcendent star, which was, again, this is all the right thing to do, but it's
and
tricky.
like the Bucks have just looked weird and disjointed the entire time Lillard has been there. There've been like some occasional highs, but like he hasn't been the same guy. And like in a way that they sort of made sense as this like great theoretical like pick and roll and inverted pick and roll partnership. Just like neither one of those guys wants to do that shit. And so then they're always only ever playing at like 75% capacity. And then you add in like basically everyone else on their team like kind of eroding at the same time. Like Pat Connaughton's like unplayable now.
Right.
It's just like depressing. I really don't like watching them play.
It's a good point about the lack of pick and rolls, because I remember there was a big kind of basketball media company line around Westbrook's failings as he was in his like flailing stage of his career. It was like, Westbrook sets less than 2 on-ball screens a game. Westbrook doesn't screen enough. And it's true. He should have, as a non-shooting but super athletic guy, like it made obvious sense for him to set screens, but he didn't. Like, it just seems obvious to me that the Bucks should run 100 Giannis and Dame pick and rolls a game. But and the fact that they don't do that every possession, clearly it's almost like the same thing as Anthony Davis not wanting to play center. It's like a taste thing, and I'm kind of like, that's what the money's for? Like, you know?
That's what the money's for.
That's sort of something I was thinking about with the trade deadline and like team building and sort of like, basically I thought about this while watching Aaron Wiggins drop 40 on the Kings in Fox's last game, is that like the amount of money you can make and the importance you have is like all down to like your role. Like someone who like Kevin Porter Jr., who sucks ass, will never actually like, he's very athletic and can do stuff, but he's never going to get paid like a mid-tier veteran or a role player, because the only things he can do are like best player in a team shit. Yeah. And there are so many guys, like Cam Whitmore is another one of these guys, who like only have the talent to just be on the ball all the time.
Yeah.
And I think teams are getting smarter about like being able to fit, you know, more of those guys on the court.
Bones
like,
Highland, same thing.
Yeah. And like if you find guys who don't have problems, like this is what makes the Thunder special, I guess, is my thesis, is that like Shea is going to be that guy basically all the time, but then like Jalen Williams can also do that. Like Wiggins can do that. Like it works because they have 3 guys who can beat their man one-on-one on the court at any given time, but like none of them totally monopolizes everything unless it's just Shea doing 17 free throws a game, which is like kind of boring but brutally effective.
Agreed. There are 2 other things I want to hit. Do we have time to
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Loose odds and ends before we move on. I just have a few things I need to say about the trade deadline. One, this is probably a full episode for Patrick and you, but the Zach LaVine goodbye post from his barber was perhaps the most affecting thing I've ever seen, and exposes Zach LaVine as secret Palestinian ally. So that is something I just want to put a point on. Second is just a trend I want to name that this actually might dovetail a little bit with the next topic in terms of just like meta conversations about how people talk about sports. But the Bucks trade made me think about a graphic I saw. It was Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton in Wizards jerseys, and it was who's stopping this duo. And I just want to talk about, or just lodge it right here. I've become too much of a grump on the internet, but I'm so fucking tired of bait. And
completely.
Specifically, like, I kind of wrote about banger hunting earlier this year, but like blue check bait for people to be like, anyone's stopping them.
Right.
As if it's just like this really tired, unironic play on the whole, like, I was told Steph Curry can't shoot bit. And I've just had enough of it. And then the final thing, of course, is Harry, you've been on this for a while. Marcus Smart as just the casualty of the Boston media mafia, just being like, I don't want to play with you anymore.
Yeah.
But this really is like the end of the Irishman. Just like he's on the Wizards.
Yes.
He's like,
I think Harry was totally vindicated in this take. Like,
Oh,
the Grizzlies had to give
absolutely.
up 2 picks to get him and 1 pick to get him to leave. And that is basically just the Boston media complex inflating his importance and getting him the DPOY.
Yeah, no, I like get insane all the time about basically everything always working out in the Celtics' favor and just them creating like the best team on earth for functionally free. And Marcus Smart, I kind of joked about this on Twitter, but like literally is a CDO. Like there's this crisis that is about to maybe burst the NBA for good, and it's just because the Celtics have been bundling up shit and selling them on unsuspecting teams so they can get like Kristaps Porzingis for free. And so yeah, I couldn't let this conversation go without discussing Marcus Smart as
A CDO.
Like Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, and Marcus Smart probably have not all played on the same night since they were traded.
No, that is junk bonds right there. Like that's like it gets Moody's disbanded. Moses Moody's.
David Bear Stearns. Something I was thinking about this trade deadline is the way that like second round picks are being used as this like purely abstracted instrument of like financialization of trades that basically like you can get valuable guys. Like the Thunder got valuable guys. Like AJ Mitchell was a second round pick this year, whatever. But like their chief value is as a trade lubricant under this like CBA where it's harder and harder to make trades. Like second round picks are not so much valuable in that they like allow you to select a player with the 45th pick. They are having a lot of them as valuable because they allow you to like throw them in as sweetener. Like they're basically like a pure currency is kind of how I was thinking about
I
them.
think of them as like cutting drugs. Like it's like we have the trade is the drug and the second round pick is like the creatine or baby powder you put in it.
R.I.P. David Graeber. You would have loved the 2025 NBA trade deadline.
That's
Yeah, bullshit picks.
That's good. Debt, but the cover is just Marcus Smart's face and the Wizard. It's basically the Chris Middleton Smart Photoshop cover.
Photoshop. Yeah, exactly.
This was a big trade deadline for people photoshopping people into other jerseys too. Like they were just working overtime.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking about that, just about how that style, like the three people standing, is like so codified into the way we think about trades now that it's like you couldn't even do it a different way. Like how would you?
Oh, no.
It's like it's almost as much. It's like how movies are 90 minutes long. It's like you can't think of it in a different way. They have to be. TV shows have to be 30 minutes long, and movies have to be.
But watch this space. This could be the last trade deadline, like the last artisan trade deadline. In the future, we might see it all be like Grok AI slot. It's like, you know,
like
Giannis
that.
with 8 fingers in a Lakers jersey.
Yeah, like DeviantArt Giannis, barebagging Luka. The thing that actually does bug me, because I similarly like freak out about these innocuous Twitter posts, like from like Legion of Hoops or like NBA Sentinel or whatever, like all these things and the debate stuff. The thing that I want to add that also bugs me is the purposeful muddying of being this sort of like mimetic shitpost and being an actual source of news.
Yes.
Like you can actually get trade news from Legion Hoops, and you can actually get what is designed to be a rage bait shitpost thing, and that they are like, they seem to be actively attempting to undermine consensus reality is the thing that I'm like want to meet that guy and strangle him. I'm like,
yes,
you
it's so
are,
true.
I know it's small, I know it's just basketball, but it's like you are fucking with my ability to fucking move through time linearly, and I'm pretty mad about it.
No, it's more than basketball though. It's like we have a lot of societal trust hinging upon like knowing who is using the fire emoji, ironically and unironically, you know, and then it's like new projected blank starting 5, and the fire emoji can be played either way. It's like
it's dissolving
I don't
language.
know. It's the same way that the blue check used to mean something.
Yeah,
like it's just like like authority is being dissolved in real time.
No, this is like the gatekeeper list nightmare that Josh Citrella talks about. It's like it's like pure internet id. Everything is fake. You know.
Yes.
Another sort of similar crank complaint I have is people trying to conduct basketball arguments with stat head screenshots of like 9 listed points per game stats.
Unserious,
it's just totally denatured from like how basketball works or even how stats work. And just seeing that on the rise, it's a real like, are we the last generation that like understands how to like do math? Like,
It also
to me,
yes.
this is downstream of like ChatGPT being a homework machine and us finishing our education after all that. And even thinking about having this complaint makes me feel 900,000 years old.
The final frontier is going to be people using ChatGPT to make their basketball arguments, because arguing about basketball will end up feeling as tedious as homework, but people don't have the wherewithal to actually do it.
It is because the other part about this, about what you're talking about, the stat head thing, is it's not quite boy who cried wolf, but it's the real heads know that you have to wait to then like show, Joel Embiid and Emeka Okafor or something. Like you have to you gotta have the right sense of timing to drop the right stat comparison to be like, Monte Ellis would average more points than Michael Jordan or whatever. Like that, those are the real, like those are the kind of like artisan uses. Okay, while we're kind of talking about meta discourse, I wanted to bring up a great blog from Calder McHugh. I hope I'm saying that name right. Who writes this blog called Southpaw? That's like, I think he co-writes it, but this piece was just about him, or just by him. And it was called The End of Sportsball. And I'll summarize it quickly. It was a interesting take on the Luka trade, and was basically saying that the Luka trade broke containment, which it did. It became kind of a national news story, and that one of the things that he noticed was that a lot of whenever a sports story breaks containment, there is this kind of a certain group of people will be like, did a sports ball happen? Did something in full court press happen or whatever? Like this sort of lampooning people for caring about sports earnestly. And I think he's right to point out that like that trend is mostly on the way out already. Like most people, I think, are like have some understanding that sports are at least worthwhile to some people. But he was really, I think he said, these people have been culturally defeated and intellectually discredited. Overwhelmingly, these sorts of posts are now treated with derision, which I think is right. I do think like almost to the point where I barely even see them anymore of people. It's not even on my radar.
They're all on Blue Sky.
Yeah, exactly. They are all on Blue Sky.
Probably.
Which, if you are on Blue Sky, give us a follow.
Yeah, no, much love to my Blue Sky family. It's like vegetarianism. Like you're morally correct.
Exactly right, but I can't do it for now.
I think that's actually an interesting way into like thinking about this essay, because I think basically what it is reflecting that it doesn't quite get to, but basically builds all the evidence for, is like, this is because it's happening on Twitter, and like latter day Twitter is like so busted and reactionary in this specific way. Like the way that like sports culture has evolved and the way that people talk about sports culture, like that evolves on Twitter. And like basically the end point is like the Dana Whiteification of everything, which I feel like he's sort of starting to describe here.
Yes, exactly. And I that was the second half of this piece is talking about like, okay, there's this obvious reality which is that sports are political in certain ways, and there's a myriad of examples of the kind of overtly political nature of sports. But then I think the more interesting and less dug into category is this slowly but then all at once Dana Whiteification you're talking about, which is basically that there is this tremendous urge for apolitical content with a political implication, essentially, which is like Joe Rogan or UFC or the NFL, and then this is where maybe I'm like moving on top of it, is like he's basically saying that the right, the institutions that have conservative apolitical politics are dominating. Like they are very successful. Joe Rogan is the most successful institution of any of these that I'm talking about. And then like the NFL is a vaguely conservative institution.
They ended end racism. They solved it.
Yeah, racism's back.
They got to the bottom of it. They brought it back. Exactly. And Max Reed's piece on this internet sort of is also approaching the same idea of things that are expressly almost even like shit on politics, but are political and kind of like transmute values that are, they basically trick people into caring about politics, which is like, all well and good, I think. And so my question is, other than the Nothing But Respect podcast, what institutions could be like, for lack of a better word, like liberal coded sports? Like, is there an opportunity for a reclamation? And actually, because that's a hard question, so let me say one.
Well, I do have an answer to that.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Okay.
Well, basically, it's like if you look at just this internet and this essay are sort of diagnosing like this broad cultural realignment towards like it's like a right wing cultural realignment, basically. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing that with like ending racism and stuff. But like the NBA is going to be a very interesting place where this particular rubber will meet the road, because like they have a mostly black labor force and their fan base probably skews more black than other sports. So it's like they basically don't have the incentives or the interest in really like the ways in which and the extent to which they will move right, if they do, will be a very interesting test case, because like the NFL's labor dynamics and fan base and like sort of broad cultural like feel are all pretty well established in a way that like the NBA is like they've taken Black Lives Matter off the court. Like the NBA strike kind of came and went, but still like it's a different league fundamentally. So like you can't, I guess my theory is you can't really push as far here.
I have a kind of psychotic direction I want to take this in, but the first thing I want to say is like I'm stealing this from someone I saw on Twitter yesterday. I deeply apologize to whoever thought of this, but like you are also starting to see like kind of in the same way that like the far right, as we're seeing it right now, is like, I don't know, people joke all the time about the soy right, how like the right wing is more or less just redoing what the cringiest portion of the left, or at least the liberals in this country, did 10, 15 years ago. A parallel to did a sports ball happen from the right and from like the most rabid like groypers and freaks is sports are this opiate. They are the bread and circus distraction. Basically just like the right is rather than doing did a sports ball happen, kind of like leaning into this like scaring the hose anti-sports, like you guys are brainwashed enough to keep watching the Super Bowl. And I think it's obviously just at the end of the day internet bullshit, but can maybe be instructive, because I think a lot of what you're seeing with this kind of like political apolitical institutions is this weird notion right now that's taken hold that to be conservative is to let people do what they want to do, which I think is totally misguided and for a number of reasons. But I think right now it is commonly understood, in my opinion, incorrectly, that the left is the political orientation for people who want to tell you what you can't do, to keep you in line, to kind of discipline you and be your parents. And the right is the people who are going to let you stay up past your bedtime and run around and trade crypto and do whatever slurs you want to do and all that.
Pizza
all that
reviews,
shit.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, and just like watch your little AI
past
slop
your bedtime. Yeah,
exactly. Run
That's
around
a
with
good way to put
scissors.
it.
And like, yeah, like the right lets you drink soda, and the left says like you're gonna get fat.
Right.
And that is something I think we're going to see shift in real time as people have to live more and more with the consequences of right-wing governance, and be like the jokes are obviously there, but like, was my slur worth tanking the economy,
right,
or like losing whatever remains of like an actual working federal government? And I think that right-wing overreach is gonna extend into the domain of the cultural too, where all of a sudden I think we're gonna have a backlash when this trend continues of like to watch sports, but honestly just to exist in the world means being fucking bombarded with gambling ads and this kind of like reckless House of Cards feeling that like everything is just being kind of scrapped away for parts. And I don't know, I think the left will one day be able to position itself kind of as like ball knowers and like people who love the game for the game, rather than using sports as this kind of Trojan horse to just allow more privatization and like reckless behavior. So I don't know. I think it's less like, is the NBA the liberal counterpart to the NFL, and more like, is the right going to completely outkick its coverage when it comes to just scrapping shit for its parts. Like, are we going to get sick of troops in the commercials?
Right, and we were joking before we started recording about the rocket, a moment of America brought to you by Rocket or whatever. But like, I actually agree that if there end up being like 300 of those in a Super Bowl or whatever, and it's just like, oh my God, like they are trying to monetize every single second of my time, and I'm just trying to fucking watch the game. That is going to that is the, conservative privatization dream, is that every single second is monetized and so and exploited and blah blah blah. So I could see a backlash there, but I cut you off, Patrick. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just thinking about how the phenomenon of Trump won was the right holding all the political power, being so frustrated that they had no cultural power. And the difference this time around is that they do have the cultural power to go along with the political power, but like these people are hostile to like the idea of culture itself. So while they have the means of production, the things they're creating are like every show is like Tracker now, or like it's just like the grok slopification of everything. And so it's like you can manufacture like culture, I believe, is downstream of politics. Like you can manufacture the conditions for a right-wing cultural lurch, but like at the end of the day, I just don't trust that they have any pages, like our great right-wing cultural auteurs are like Clint Eastwood, who is like 1,000 years old. And like, even then, just basically like
and juror number 2 stunk. I'm tired.
Really? I haven't seen it.
Don't get me started.
I'm tired of
sucked.
people. You liked it?
It sucked. No, it sucked.
Oh, thank God. Because some people liked it. Some smart people in my life liked it. I'm like, that movie.
I feel like a lot of people. Yeah, I'm a Nicholas Hoult stan, so I'm.
Oh, I'm out on him. He's just got airplane face. Like every movie of his, you should only watch on airplanes.
Well, I like how aerodynamic he looks, and also sort of like Tom Hardy, how willing he is to get grimy. Like I didn't realize that was him in Mad Max for like
that is
an hour.
respect. I did recently see that, and that made me like him a lot more.
But
basically, my point is like people who are hostile to like the concept of culture can't make it.
Yeah.
Right.
And like that contradiction is going to be their ultimate letdown, that like this shit sucks. And people will see it. People will hate it not for its like maybe for its cultural and like racist values, but like also because like they have fundamentally like conservatism is all about reaction and backlash, and they have no like original takes of their own. So
when you were talking about the NBA as a kind of, and who will occupy the future of kind of progressive stuff in the NBA, one interesting thing about this is there was this surge of owners in the NBA that came from the tech world, and that when all of that was being reported and talked about, it was like the liberal tech world. It was like these people are messing stuff up and breaking rules, but in the name of a liberal quest toward progress, not a conservative quest toward efficiency or whatever. And it is now the kind of perception of these tech companies are changing. And like such as, for example, like if Jeff Bezos buys the Boston Celtics, that is not going to be thought of as a liberal tech owner buying a sports team. That is going to be, fucking Thanos getting the 6th Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
And it's fucking Peyton Pritchard. But my point is, it is kind of complicated because we saw, this is why if there is a project of this pod, it is kind of fun, is because we saw a micro version of this backlash to tech efficiency happen in the basketball world, where everybody was like, analytics, and then it was like, wait, analytics is kind of whack. and now we're seeing that again with like efficiency. We love our super tech efficient overlords that are making like Soylent for us. And now it's like, wait, I don't want to live like that.
The thing I like is that one of these teams, like owned by a very notable tech guy who has the Robin Hood jersey patch, is the Grizzlies, who play in this like totally like post basketball way.
yeah.
Which I really love. Like they're like the one team who plays different than everyone else.
And I just think the NBA is kind of like resistant to the dictates of ownership a little bit. Like I always return to the fact that Kyrie plays for the Adelsons. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, owners can only muzzle you so much. Like it's fucking insane. So I don't know. Whenever I kind of start to feel like the entire country is inevitably lurching right wing, and it's kind of this irreversible cultural shift as well as obviously political shift, I think about just what I felt in my stomach when J.D. Vance did just saw a Chihuahua mixed with a German Shepherd, and I have some questions. And it's
so
just
that
like
happened.
It's like, ultimately, we know where this is going to go. I'm fucking sorry. We know what's going to happen. Like, well, people hate that guy. People hate that shit.
Yeah, he sucks. And sort of like what Harry said about how like NBA Legion will post like legitimate aggregation and then also just like who's stopping this team with like Bronny and like a Kings jersey.
Yes.
It's like the fact that Vance's posts are either like the blood of the heroes will water the graves of our enemies, and then the other one is like, can you believe what they got on TV these days? Like it just, those exist alongside each other, and I feel as insulted and crazy as Harry described.
It's insane. We have a vice president who's Ruth Conda posting.
Okay, I realized I have a meeting in right now that I'm late for, so why don't we as much as I want to get this next this last thing about Maverick Carter investing in Saudi money, I think can we tape
I
up
feel
for
like
next
we've
week?
basically built what the take from that will be.
Yeah,
so if you have listened to this, you will understand how to interpret
Folks,
that
it's
story.
bad.
Yeah, we've taught you how to fish.
Okay. We have thank you, Sportello. You have an excellent, I'm sure, though it hasn't been written yet, piece coming out soon. So go check that out when you see Ock. I am Harry Krinsky. I'm joined, as always, by staff writer at Defector, Patrick Redford. And we will see you guys next week.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.